Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel and podcast, where we are back for yet another live match reaction. I am your host this afternoon, Chris, joined by the ever-present Scott and Roger, all the way from snowy Canada. Roger, still snowing?
No, mate. Spring has sprung. Spring has sprung. It's very nice out. So we might even get up to 21 degrees later on this week. So it's starting to heat up.
Spring has sprung, and we
Rabbits,
have a spring in our
and
step,
raccoons.
mate.
Yes.
So, Roger, I'm going to give you the pleasure this week, mate. Say those magic words.
Well, wouldn't you now? Get in! Come on.
That's
in.
five in a row now, Scott. And Newcastle United, they made difficult work of it. It's an ugly win, but they're all count.
They do. I mean, that first half was probably one of the worst first halves of football we've seen all season from us. I don't know if it was fatigue. I don't know if it was just Brentford being the better side and just catching us off guard, given, we've had a quick turnaround of games, but they have as well. So I don't think that was an excuse. It was horrible, to be honest, that first half. And it was one of those things where I thought, do I just turn this off and just enjoy me Saturday? But no, you never go home early, as we used to say in the ground, and you never turn off early.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. There's quite a few talking points to go through on this one, but I just want to get your opinion first of all, Roger. That, like Scott's just mentioned, back-to-back games in quick succession. That's three now, where they've just been a couple of days apart, really. Were you shocked with any of the changes which Eddie Howe made this afternoon?
No, I thought he might shuffle the pack, for want of a to use a cliche. I did. I wasn't sure whether Wilson would be up for 2 games in such short succession, and because we played a quite a high press. I know we utilised this really well against West Ham, but I think the way that we play, players do get fatigued, and the moment we start getting players drop out like Maxi, the bench maybe doesn't look as good. So we need to try and keep on top of this rotation as we kind of get to the the final 9-10 games now of the season. So I wasn't surprised to see a couple of changes.
Yeah, so one of the changes, Scott, being Maxi. Maxi's injured. It's a bit of a shame for Maxi that, because he's hitting some decent run of form at the minute. It's a bit of a shame that he's obviously picked up that injury and he's missing this. But just to move away from Maxi slightly, I think once again one of our in-form players is missing out of that team, and we're still going to pick up 3 points, which is crucial when you look at the overall performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this was, last season, beginning of last season, 2 years ago, you have Maxi out the side, you have Wilson on the bench, you're expecting 3-4-0, like defeat straight away. It was, the changes were probably what you would expect. I think we spoke about this a little bit on the match preview. Joe Linton can obviously just slot into that left-hand side quite nicely. And then it was really, I think it's a flip of a coin for Isak or Wilson who starts. I'd imagine Isak probably was the fitter of the two in terms of readiness for the game. And I think Eddie Howe's playing Callum Wilson very cleverly in terms of, he is prone to injury. He hasn't been on the ball, up until these last, 3-4 games. He's been a bit off the pace. So I think, obviously it was the right decision to make. But yeah, I mean, Joe Linton just comes back in and, it's like there's no difference really. You lose a little bit of, kind of that taking man on, but he's such a powerhouse. You've got the same kind of player really in terms of output. It's not a weakness, is what I think is what I'm trying to get at there. It's like a skill-wise like for like.
Yeah, let's just dive in and talk about some of these talking points. So Brentford have the ball in the back of the net, first of all, Roger. It's rightfully ruled offside for VAR, so we'll not focus too much on that one. But you could see that Brentford were well up for this game from the off, and I think we all expected this to be the case. Was it a case straight away of Brentford just basically pushing us on the back foot rather than Newcastle having a bad day at the office? Because I've seen the opinion split, really.
I think they did what West Ham were hoping to do in the previous game, but Brentford are playing with a lot more confidence, and I think they just came out with it because they do have players that can hit. You've got a lot of pace. I mean, to be honest with you, that number 9 who played up front for them, I didn't really know who he was, but like he was. I think the teams have tried to target the pace on our left hand side with Burn and test Botman a bit because nobody's really. He had a bit of a wobble today, but nobody's really sort of like got around him and really made a fool out of him. And I think they really targeted that. And I think you got a fair play to Thomas Frank and to the Brentford team because like they were really good first off, and they kind of almost hit upon a blueprint as to how to play against us. That intensity, but it's whether you can maintain it. But as well as Frank did, I think in the first half, I think Eddie Howe obviously kind of trumped him in the second. So yeah, fair play to Brentford. I think like Botman being exposed and giving away the penalty was, I mean, that was great. That was like a tackle I would do, like in an over 40 team. It was like,
I think he went in like an absolute tank, an absolute steam engine. He just went flying into that one. And
yeah,
I think the commentator on the stream, which I was watching there today, said that everything was right about the challenge. He goes flying in, he times it perfectly, apart from he swipes at the ball and misses it completely. And I think it's Fabian Schär that gets absolutely rinsed, first of all, which obviously Brentford get into the box. And obviously there's no arguments whatsoever. VAR don't even have to have a look at that. It's a penalty all day long.
Yeah.
Which obviously moves on to the penalty itself. And Ivan Toney had the ball in the back of the net, was disallowed. He steps up to take the penalty. Scott, was that one of the worst penalties you've ever seen in regards to a shot on target?
For a strike, when you see them, they try and dink it and fool the keeper, and the keeper just catches it. Obviously, they're probably the worst penalties you'll ever see. But that was, considering he had a run up, he hit the ball as he probably intended, but it was almost like you're just like, okay, well, I don't want to score today. I've had one choked off. I'll just pass it to Nick Pope. And I kind of understand why you would do it. Because you'd probably put your house on Ivan Toney scoring a penalty. I don't think he's missed one this season.
I think he had scored the previous 32 penalties.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to miss one, you're going to miss one in true style, right? And you cannot really complain that, if that's the one you're going to miss. At least you get that out of the way with, because as we all know what happened afterwards. He soon got his form back. He did. Do you know what it is? All credit to Nick Pope for obviously just guessing the right way, basically. Not sure if he'd done his homework or if it was just pure luck and guesswork, which a lot of the time it is with saving penalties. And he dives to the right side, and do you know what it is? He doesn't even have to dive. He just falls to that left-hand side and collects that straight away. It's not even much effort put into it. So basically got given a lifeline at that point. But not so long later, we're back in the same position. Brentford get another penalty, Roger. And I've just spoke about that being a pretty poor penalty take by Ivan Toney. It's a pretty poor decision by the officials, in my opinion, to award that penalty.
I don't know. Like, I think it's one of those ones, like, I'm sure football fans across the country will have these discussions where if it's given for you, you'll take it every day. But if it's given against you, then, But I can see why he's given it. And, it's a bit like was it the Tottenham one against Everton, where sort of Keane wasn't aware about where the Tottenham player was, and neither was Isak, and he swings at it, and it's a penalty. I mean, we had was it the Burnley one last season?
Yeah, we had one just last week. Just last week.
Longstaff gets like karate kicked in the face, and it doesn't get given. So, I think 9 times out of 10, I would say that's given a penalty. Especially it went to VAR though, didn't it? Yeah,
it went to VAR for about 5 minutes. Yeah. Roger, that's the issue.
As soon as it goes to VAR, like I think they're always going to give it. They're always going to give it. But it's I think it's pot luck whether the referee in those instances whether he gives it or not as the player's going, and then formally you would have got away with it, but obviously now with VAR you're unlikely to get away with those type ones unless you're Brighton against Tottenham the day, which was shocking. Oh my god.
Scott, do you think it's more of a consistency thing which we're annoyed about here? Because once again, VAR is supposed to be used for clear and obvious, which has been mentioned numerous times in the comments there as we're recording this. And for the VAR officials to take 3-4 minutes to even get the referee to the monitor proves straight away that it's not clear and obvious. The referee had a good view of it whilst it was happening in play. Right in front of him it was. He made the decision that it wasn't a penalty straight away until obviously VAR stepped in. Like I said there, is it more of an issue that we're annoyed now because we see these sort of challenges against our players and get absolutely nothing from it?
It's more annoying that VAR takes so long. In my eyes, they should maybe look at having a time limit or something for VAR to make the decision, and if they can it within.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea.
Like the referee
countdown
screen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can look at something for as long as you want, and at the end of the day, you can come out with a different opinion.
Yeah.
If you look at it in real time and you look at it, not slowed down or anything like that, then it just it comes across like they're just looking for an excuse to get involved. And I don't know if that's because Mike Dean's controlling it and he wants VAR to be more involved in the game or what, but you just feel. It just
Howard
stops
Webb
the
these
flow
days.
of the
Not
game.
Howard Webb these days.
Howard Webb, sorry.
Howard Webb, aye.
You just feel that they're doing it just because they're not on the pitch to make the decisions and they want to get involved. I'm still all for, I think it was Shearer. Shearer, I'll probably say it again tonight on Match of the Day if he's on it, that, it's got to be independent. I don't think it's got to be ex-referees. It's got to be a mix of ex-footballers and that, but I think we've spent a lot of time talking about VAR.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think it was a penalty because Isak had his back turned, and he's turned and swung at the ball, and the player is just the same player who did Botman, to be fair, ran into his foot. But if it was given as a penalty, you accept it, and I don't think VAR even get involved if it's given as a penalty. So it's one of those where it can go either way, but they've got to give more trust in the referee's initial decision because 3-4 years ago we didn't have VAR, and we had to rely on the referee's initial decision.
He did have quite a good angle. He did have quite a good angle as well, didn't he? If I remember, there was an angle from behind the goal where the referee was
he's right there,
in line with it, wasn't he? So,
and it's a great shout, Scott. It's if you flip it around, if the referee had to give it a penalty, then would VAR spent as much time looking at that, trying to overrule that decision? And I don't think they would have.
No. Yeah. I don't think they would have even had to look at it. I wouldn't have even went to them to check, unless they check everything. Maybe
they do check everything.
They literally just went, yeah, okay, right, we agree.
They check everything. There's a couple of times during my stream, during the commentary, the commentator, I'm not sure who it was, but the commentator kept on saying, just let you know, VAR's already looked at this. They've already made a decision, and that happened in seconds of something happening.
I'd also like to see maybe the TV put a little banner at the bottom when VAR is checking something. So that because we have to wait for the commentators to tell us or for the screen to change. If they just put a little, for everything in the pitch, just VAR checking and just comes up at the bottom as a little banner or something, just so you're watching at home, you're not guessing. And obviously in the crowd, in the ground, if you've got a screen, put it on the screen that they're checking something. But I think clear and obvious is the word of the day for that one. It's not. It just isn't.
I think to know what it is, I think you have to look at it and think half time. Brentford deserved that, Roger. They really did because we were pissed proud. There's nothing hiding from that.
We weren't great. I mean, obviously we're going to come on the second half, which was night and day. But yeah, it was a really I'm going to say they probably took us by surprise. That tactically they completely outthought us in that first half, and when a team puts it on us straight away after that, our outputs in games are so high that sometimes you need, and I think we did well to get to we could have been 3 down, we did really well just to keep it at 1, get to half time, and then Mad Dog probably just let rip on them. I don't imagine Eddie Howe had any involvement whatsoever. I think they probably just Probably poked Mad Dog a few times, just sent him in with the players and let him
Well, I'm not too sure, Roger, because just last week against West Ham, Eddie Howe was going mental at them, and we're 2-0 up at that point. So I think Eddie Howe might have gave them a good bollocking because
do
you know what it is? I'm saying we're pissed, but we were to a certain degree. We were, but then it's understandable the amount of effort we put into that West Ham game because the lads were absolutely crippled after that game, Joe Linton especially. But obviously we come out second half and we take the game by the scruff of the neck at that point. It's our game and it's in our hands, and obviously we get the equalizer. And Scott, it's another one where it's a different goal for Newcastle United. We keep on doing this. It's every single time we score, it seems to be something completely different. And it's Joe Linton. Well, I know it's gone down as an own goal now. Of course it has, because I had the Brentford keeper in my Fantasy Premier League. So it's gone down as an own goal. But once again, it just shows you the work rate that the lads are putting in and the effort that lads are putting in. Joe Linton's found himself there and he takes it really well. Yeah,
he does. I mean, who would have thought after today we would have said Joe Linton would have 3 goals in the space of 2 games. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, it was a very well worked goal. I think what changed in the second half was, although Joe Linton was up the field for this goal, we moved Joe Linton back into the middle with Bruno.
Yeah, it's 2 changes.
We just got a hold of the midfield. Bruno was able to play Bruno's game. He was getting the ball. He was, having a look, playing passes, spraying it all over the place. And Joe Linton was being that bulldozer that we know that he is when it comes to defending in that central of midfield. But yeah, it's a shame that it goes as an own goal because I think Joe Linton would want that as his because he did so well. It's almost like the players are scared to go in on him. They just keep backing off, and then he's like, "Well, I'm going to hit it." Then, and he does very well to get as close as he does to the keeper, and then just unloads on it when it takes a deflection and goes in. I think it probably would have went in anyway. Would just been a bit further out of the goal, maybe off the.
Ooh, I disagree with you, Scott.
Do you think it's going away? Yeah,
that's not.
I haven't seen it back again. To be fair, I'm too busy messaging in our group when the goal's going.
If you look at the body shape of all the Brentford players, there was like 3 of them. They all anticipated that the ball was
coming out over,
going out over our eye. So. But always
hit the keeper's leg and go in.
Hits his right boot. I think the inside of his boot then just goes in.
Maybe it should have been an own goal. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm
doing. They definitely went down as an own goal. 100%.
This is what good teams do. We had a 20-25 minute spell in that second half where we just won the game, and then it's just.
So moving on to the second goal, Roger. We'll quickly go through these ones. Moving on to the second goal. He's honestly, we keep on talking about this kid. We keep on talking about Isak and the build-up play. Once again, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
But for him just to nestle that into the top corner, mate, we've got a player in him, haven't we?
He's absolutely ridiculous. He was a slow burn, obviously, with the injuries and stuff like that. But every time you see him, and he's got that. He's like a fusion of I know, obviously, his idol was Thierry Henry, but you've got a bit of Tino in there, a bit of
that arrogance, isn't
there, that. He looks a bit languid and then the way he can just manipulate the ball for a tall, leggy lad to be able to just manipulate the ball the way he does sometimes in very close quarters is absolutely incredible. And then the finish was just beautiful. I was shocked that Wilson actually laid the ball off, but I don't think he had any choice about it. But and that is one of my favorite type of goals. Where a striker just sweeps it into the top corner, and it was right in the top corner. And it was nice to see him and Wilson play together. I think that was, there was a couple of times where Isak tried to play him in, and the ball was just a little bit long. But it's good to know that those 2 players, even in that short spell together, had a bit of a relationship going. So, it bodes well. And obviously Wilson, I know we'll probably talk about the disallowed goal, but for him to, also get on the score sheet or get the ball in the back of the net in that partnership, despite the fact that it was ruled out, I think it just bodes well that the 2 of them play And he is, as somebody says there, Craig Lee, ice cold Alex. absolutely, he's
He
ridiculous.
is. Honestly, it runs through his veins. Absolute icy as out, man. So we'll move on to the next goal, the next disallowed goal of the game. So far in the game, we've got 2 disallowed goals and 2 penalties. Scott, so Callum Wilson gets the ball in the back of the net. Okay.
Yep.
Then the lads are away celebrating. Then once again, we have VARs looking at this one. When they start showing the replays through the telefeed and through VAR, what's your thoughts at that point? Are you still adamant that it's a goal, or has your opinion changed slightly that it's handball?
So it hits him like on the almost like the elbow and the lower top part of his arm, doesn't it?
It's like where his sleeve line is, really.
Yeah, and I think there's a common misconception that the low is where the sleeve ends on the player, when it's actually where your shoulder ends and like your bicep starts, and that's where that line gets drawn from the FA's rules, if you will, on handball. So for me, I saw it, and if it's anywhere else in the pitch, I don't think it gets given as a handball. But because he gets into a goal scoring opportunity because of it, I think that's why they've given it. Obviously, I'm fuming when I'm watching it, because obviously I'm thinking, well, no, it's a goal against us, so we should be 3-1 up. But in hindsight and looking at it back, and then before we come on, I quickly checked where the handball rule is. It is, like I say, it's end of your shoulder and beginning of your bicep.
If we flip that around, though, Scott,
if
we flip it around and that ball hits the defender there while his arms are by his side, do we get a penalty? Because I don't think we do.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. Yeah, I suppose if you look at it that way, because Wilson's arms are by his side, or
can't go anywhere else.
Tucked in. He can't cut his arm off, I suppose. So yeah, it's probably another one of those where it isn't a clear and obvious error. But I think the referee, I don't know if the referee gives it and then VAR get involved. I can't remember how it worked out, or if the referee got the claims from the players, because the players hounded the referee, if I remember rightly, and obviously he went against his own judgment. But I suppose in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, because we did come away winners.
Exactly.
But had they equalised,
don't tell Callum Wilson that, though, Scott.
I know
he's got 10 goals this season. He'll be fine.
What's your thoughts on it, Roger? Because if I just quickly jump in,
penalty all day for me. It's disallowed all day for me, like, because I think it was not an incident. I think it came as a result of something from, like, I want to say like a Liverpool game a few seasons ago, where it led to the handball led to a goal. So that's the difference between, you would never get a penalty for it, because he's from a defensive point of view, you can't put your arms anywhere else. But just because of the change in the rules, when it's an attacking situation and it leads directly to a goal, they're always going to bring it back. So as soon as I saw that it hit, I think it like hit kind of up here, I was like, they'll disallow that straight away, because that's just the rule. So,
see, for me, I'm the other side. I'm looking at that, and I might be a bit biased here, being a Newcastle fan, but I'm looking at that and thinking, where else is he supposed to put his arm? I
can't dispute that with you. But the rule is, it hits his arm, it leads to a goal. It's disallowed. Like, that's the rule. So
I just think if the ball is on target, right? So if a striker hits the ball and it's on target, and a defender's arms are by his side and it hits him in the same place, you don't get a penalty for that. So why is it different for a striker? Ridiculous.
Yeah, but because of the rules, that's just the rules, and I don't make the rules. I'm sorry, Craig Lee. I don't make the rules. I'm just I'm a stickler for the rules. But I think it hit like Scott's saying, it hit the area below where the bicep is, or where the bicep is, and therefore they give a penalty.
I'll be interested to hear what everybody else thinks that's watching this, because I
nobody's
think
going to agree with me. I'm going to get some hate now, like.
Oh, hopefully, mate. But like Scott mentioned, then yes, it didn't affect the game, because we did go on, obviously, to get all 3 points. But if it had have ended 2-2 or whatever it may have been, then I think we would be looking at this in a different way, because yes, you let it slide slightly because you still get the 3 points, but that could have been really damaging that, like, for me. And I think it's just, once again, consistency. I think you'll see that get given in some games, and obviously, like we're seeing today, you'll see, obviously, if VR don't even get the referee to go and check the monitor at that point. No. They make the decision for the ref. Yeah. And is it, once again, are we down to clear and obvious? To me, no.
And I mean, it nearly did result in we nearly did go 2-2 with that save.
Great save
at the end with from Ivan Toney's. It was a header, wasn't it, that he flicked on. Yeah, like I say, if Nick Pope doesn't make that save, then we're looking at another letter from the FA in a few weeks' time when they apologise for the bad decision made. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hard one because, like Roger says, it's the rules. But on the other side, if it goes against you on the other side, you'll take it all day. Like, if that was Brentford scoring from that handball and it gets ruled out, you're like, well, that's the rule. I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because you can't have it both ways. But then I suppose
I've got my tin hat on. Honestly, I've got my tin foil hat on. Yeah, right. And I think if Brentford had have scored that to equalise the game and take it to 2-2, the officials would have gave it 100%.
It was starting to feel a bit conspiracy time by the end of that first half with everything going against us and everything going for Brentford in terms of decisions. But we'll leave the tin foil in the kitchen drawer for now.
Just a couple of more mentions. I wanted to see, Roger, were you nervous at any point for Sven Botman? Because he kept on making these absolute mental challenges.
Well, it was funny because he went, obviously he had I've talked about the car crash in the first half. But actually, like, he kind of recovered quite well. And then he went from being like Maldini to like me, like within the game a few times. Like, there was once where their forward was going down our left-hand side and he did a really cute little tackle. I read the ball, did a cute little tackle and took the ball out. His distribution was a little bit better. But then 5 minutes later, he's like hoofing it into Rowe's head, which you never see him do ever. Yeah. So maybe he was a little bit rattled. I suppose we've got to remember, like, he is still a young player. It's his first season in the Premier League. He's had all applauded all season. He's been absolutely immense. So he's gonna have these, all players get rattled in some way, shape, or form. If even like, Vidic and Ferdinand at that point, like, they had games where, like, they have a little wobble and they're human, they're fallible. So yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he was a bit like he wasn't.
Honestly,
he celebrated a lot with Isak when Isak scored that goal. That was very telling for me.
I thought you had a decent game after, obviously, that initial challenge to give the penalty away. You didn't go hiding once at all. You were still making these challenges, which were borderline, some of them, because even there was a couple of them that you dove in for, and I thought, should you be doing that when you're on a yellow card?
Yeah.
But Scott, you didn't go hiding whatsoever.
No, and I think second half he improved tenfold. To be fair, he handled. I can't remember the guy's name. That number 9. I want to say it's not Cher, but it sounds like Cher, or it's spelled like Cher. But anyway, he handled him quite well. I think it was only once where he's got the better of him, but. Yeah, I was like you, Chris. Heart was in the mouth a little bit when he was putting those challenges. I'm just thinking, you're on a yellow, just don't do it.
Uncanny.
But I think, like you've said, he is only young. He's still learning the game. He's still learning the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
And he's only going to get better. I think we've said this about a few of our players over the weeks, but he's not going to get any worse than what he is, and that he's not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
I know,
so
that was like a back
got a hell of a player.
Scott.
Yeah, I know, but he's going to get better. So we've got a hell of a defender on my hands. We've got a hell of a striker on my hands in Isak, and we've got a hell of a midfielder on my hands in Bruno. So it's a nice spine of the team to have for the next 4 or 5 years, hopefully. Watching them mature and watching them play for us.
It's just like, I know I mentioned a couple of times that's 5 on the bounce now, but I said the Man United victory was probably season defining at that point, because obviously from that I thought, right, people are going to take notice now that Newcastle aren't disappearing this season, because a lot of people thought we would just start drifting. Yeah. Then we're going batter West Ham 5-1. Then we'll come against Brentford, and I would say Brentford's probably been the toughest task, I would say, out if you're looking at all 3 of them, because Man U, St James's Park, always going to look at Newcastle there. West Ham obviously a bit ropey throughout the season, but Brentford have been doing really well, unbelievably well. Now I was quite nervous about this game, Roger, but once again, it's another hurdle put in Newcastle's way that would jump over.
Yeah, I mean,
fell over it kind of, but
you've seen in the 3 games, the 3 sides of the team. The Man United performance was disciplined, very we took the game to them, were very brave. The West Ham game was kind of like we just snuffed them out straight away, and then we kind of just played with them. And then these are the games at the business end of the season that we would generally lose, or we would generally falter. And like, I think today was like an excellent recovery, brilliant second half. Like Joe Linton was just, I think he was like 6 out of 7 in the first half, and he was like a 9 or 10 in the second. He was absolutely everywhere.
It's great, yeah.
He was absolutely immense, and like it just shows. Like, I think we are still probably in that old mindset of Newcastle, and like a lot of us are going to have to like reconfigure how we think about the team, because we just don't seem to let those games slip that like we used to. And it's a bit of a shock when they do. When we do lose a couple of games or we do have some bad results, we're like, oh, that feels a bit.
Roger, I'm quite happy getting shocked every single week, mate. Like, I'll happily stay in this frame of mind and just expect the worst and get pleasantly surprised come full time. I'll take that for the rest of my life.
Yeah. But I think now on to Villa. We've got a whole week preparation.
That's a tough task.
I think I said on the previous thing, I thought the Villa game would be the hardest game out of the 3 that we had away, but I hope the Villa game's not as hard as this one, because I think they're on a really good run, to be fair, to Villa.
Oh.
So, I think if we come out with 7 points from these 3 games, I think it's been a very, very, regardless of what other teams are doing, because they're going to drop points. Tottenham are going to drop points. Man United, I think if we come out with 7 points from these 3 games, I think we've had an absolute blinder going into that Tottenham game, a Raj St James's Park, and that's the game that where we could sew it up. This the Champions League, I think, really do.
No, I'm with you. I think if you just look at those last 3 games, I think most people would have probably taken 6 points minimum out of 3 games. We've took all 9, and honestly, it's absolutely mind-blowing. It's breathtaking. Every time I look at that Premier League table, we'll drop out of top 3. Man U leapfrog with slightly, just for a little bit, but once again, we'll go and take that spot back after that, obviously, that win against Brentford. Anything else that you two would like to add before we call it a day?
Well, a few comments about Anthony Gordon being substituted, and maybe he was. I saw him go off, but I didn't really. Or maybe it's the footage I was watching.
So apparently the comments, I didn't say Roger either, because I must have missed that bit, but apparently there's a bit of a heated discussion between Eddie Howe and Anthony Gordon when Gordon was taken off later on. Do you know what it is? I don't mind stuff like that.
Me neither.
To me, that shows that player wants to prove himself, wants minutes on the field. That's fine. I'm guessing that'll be the end of it now. And
it was all smiles in the change rooms afterwards.
Exactly. Eddie Howe would explain.
Good to see Matt Ritchie at the end of the game as well, with his arm around Gordon, just being like, he's either saying to him, just calm down,
simmer down.
We did this for a reason, or he's going, get in there. That's what I want to see from you.
It's one of the two. There, Ritchie. I don't know
what it'll be. So I did think those last 2 substitutes. I think it was Lascelles and Elliot Anderson who came on for Isak and Gordon. Obviously, brought in an extra defender, because I think at that point Brentford had 6 attackers on the field, because they had made a lot of substitutions. So I'm not sure Gordon really quite figured what was going on, but from an outsider looking at it, you're like, well, I can see why he's bringing on an extra centre back, and I think we're protecting Isak for maybe the next game or whatever's going to happen there. So it was. It's a weird one, because as a fan you love to see it, but then you also think, is that going to disrupt anything in the dressing room? Because that, can that break this harmony that we've got going on? But I think
it's fine, Scott.
It's water for ducks back. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's forgotten about already. I don't think anyone really will care about it in that dressing room, because, like I said, we got the 3 points, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Yeah.
It is. Thanks, everybody. Those that are watching live, if you do just want to like the video for us as well, means a lot. If you're listening back on audio, give her a review. Give her a 5-star review. Helps us out massively. Subscribe to the channel. Costs you absolutely nothing to do that. And if you do want to give an extra bit back, it's $2.99 a month to become a member. You get early access to plenty of videos. You get access to the Telegram group, which is basically a WhatsApp group for everybody who is a member already. And I'm guessing it's absolutely buzzing in there at the minute, just like it has been all season. So thanks very much. I shall see us all on the next time. I'll be back Monday night with the podcast, lads. And Scott will be back doing everything else on the channel. See you later. Ta-ra.
Bye, everyone.
Get in.